We have been talking about this story since December. The first piece that came out, I think it was in December, and I can't recall if it was from The Guardian or 972 Mag, maybe in December, where an Israeli doctor started to level charges about what was happening at a detention camp for Palestinian prisoners. We should say it is quite clear now, and it was alleged at the time, but it seems to be an accepted reality, that there's a lot of people in these camps who have done absolutely, well, let me put it this way, rather than assessing whether what they've done is good or bad, have no connection whatsoever to Hamas or to any violence towards Israel. And just civilians minding their own business in these camps for months.
It's an extension of the fact that the Israeli military basically classifies any man of a certain age as a combatant. So they've been rounding up lots and lots of Palestinian men and putting them into these black sites, these prison camps where they've been tortured. And part of why there have been so many people who have been unaccounted for at this point.
The reports from that doctor, if I remember correctly, in December, were centered around some of the prisoners who had been cuffed so tightly that there had to be amputations because their blood circulation had been so severely inhibited. And there were other accusations. And then later, I think it was sometime around March, there were more stories that came out from this camp talking about rape and abuse of Palestinian prisoners. And apparently and it's unclear to me, I've seen speculation and whatnot. There was a report by the United Nations Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA. You'll recall that they were defunded by the United States. Earlier this year, said that detainees alleged they were subjected to ill treatment and abuse as they were released, just adding to their to the credibility. Apparently, the Israeli military sort of had to finally acknowledge this was going on. And 9 soldiers on this base were essentially detained, arrested. It's unclear in the context of the military to me, but were taken in for questioning.
Under suspicion of gang raping this particular prisoner to the point where he was, I don't know, unable to walk, extremely severely raped.
And what I think is clear from this is that instead of like sort of, and look, the United States did this too with Abu Ghraib.
Yeah.
It's a couple of bad apples. And there's nothing systemic going on here, which of course is bunk.
Because Smotrich and Ben-Gvir have been endorsing the treatment here. Ben-Gvir, I believe, said, quote, "I am proud," upon confirming the conditions that had been worsening in Israeli prisoners. And Smotrich has shown public fealty to the far right and other members of, I think, his party in particular, at least one who joined these activists in storming the base to not protect the Palestinians, not to say this is the right thing to do, to stand up against rape, but to protect the soldiers in their right to rape Palestinians.
Here is the Israeli Knesset discussing reports of abuse and torture, I don't know what else you call it, against Palestinians at this said, it's hard for me to pronounce it, said time and camp.
You go, you'll read.
Oh, okay, I'll read it out loud. I don't know if you know, but there is an incident, go back for a second, please.
So there's
I don't know if you know, but there's an incident right now in Sid Temin where military police came to arrest soldiers who were guarding the Nakba terrorists in Sid Temin, the Nakba terrorist detention center. The military police came there to arrest some of the soldiers there, probably because some of the allegations regarding the treatment of the Nakba terrorists. I should say, posit that there's absolutely no evidence that any of these people are terrorists, by even the definition in which these people would, this member of Knesset would suggest.
And
just want to make that clear. I'm just reading off the way he's talking.
Nahukba is supposedly I guess it's a part of Hamas.
And there's an incident of soldiers refusing to leave. The insanity that our country is having around this story is crazy, and we need to stop it. I think we need to give a personal example here, and I say now, and I call on other coalition members to do the same. I'm getting up and I'm leaving here, and I'm not going to vote on anything anymore until this story and this insanity that there is someone in the prosecutor's office who thinks that it's possible to come and arrest soldiers for things they're doing to the Nakba terrorists is not over. All right, let me just make it clear what's going on here. This guy is enraged. This member of Knesset is enraged that there is even an attempt to arrest or question soldiers, not because he says, and we're going to get to that, not because he says there's no question that there was no torture or rape there, but rather, why wouldn't we torture and rape these people? Go ahead.
Well, the person I think speaking about the horrors is Ahmed Tabi of the Ta'al Party, which is the Arab Nationalist Party in Israel.
This is not.
But
this
that's
guy.
not. But
No,
but the guy speaking is Likud.
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay.
And I'm really asking, I think my coalition friends will do well if they do the same as I do, because he wants to leave. We cannot continue as usual. To insert a stick a person's rectum, is that legitimate? Someone says, shut up. Yes. If he is a Nakba, everything is legitimate. Everything. That's what I wanted to know. Did you know these people did? Basta, never mind. There are things you don't do. So that is literally a debate as to whether prisoners should be anally raped with a hot poker. That's what's going on in the Knesset in Israel, which really in many respects is a sideshow. There have been reports coming out of this prison camp for 8 months now. And if we heard them here in Brooklyn, then they certainly heard them in Israel. Now, maybe the dynamic has shifted. Maybe maybe they're getting pressure from the U.S. I have no idea. It's all speculation. Maybe it's coming internally. I don't know as to why there's been at least some response to this. And I guess you got to admire the fact that they're just, oh yeah, no, it's fine that we're doing that. It's not a question of, are we doing this? It's a question of, why do we care? Why are we making an issue of this? Why are we wasting time on talking about this? And here are Israeli citizens, and I think one member, is Gvir there? I don't know. Who?
It was a member of Smotrich's party who was a part of these demonstrations, joining the far right. I have his name somewhere, but a member, Svai Sukkot of Smotrich's religious Zionism party accompanied the demonstrators, the far right mob that was trying to protect the right to rape.
Here they are. Let's do number 15. This is them trying to, they're basically crashing the Beit Lid military police headquarters. they went to the courtroom, essentially, I guess, on that base. This is what, number 14.
And I should say, Sukkot was not at maybe that, but he was at the leading the protesters to the gates at the prison itself.
Well, that's just what's going on in Israel. Meanwhile, there is, the ceasefire negotiations still going on. There are still sticking points. Apparently, there are new Israeli demands, surprise, to maintain a presence on the Gaza-Egypt border. That is the Philadelphia corridor. Supposedly to stop militants returning north through tunnels that they supposedly already destroyed.
Okay.
So
that was not the only politician there too. Amihai Eliyahu, who is the Minister of Heritage. So yes, he's a part of the majority coalition, was also there. He was the one who suggested using a nuclear weapon in the Gaza Strip earlier on in 2023. So this is the reality of where Israeli society is at right now and the fractures that are within it, because you can't do a genocide and remain the same as a society. There's just no way. So in the way Gaza is decimated, also polio is spreading, I think, apparently rapidly throughout the Strip. Sewage and sanitation. I mean, I don't even think we can describe the conditions that people are living in at this moment with disease. That's, of course, the primary concern. But you also see what this does to a society that's doing a genocide just miles from its own borders.
Here is a Limor Livnat tweet. Former Israeli Knesset member, former Likud Knesset member. The country is disintegrating. No leadership. Armed, masked extremist anarchists are seizing IDF bases. I don't know that I would call them anarchists, frankly, but I'm not going to be pedantic about this. But it seems like they're more fascists.
Yep.
The police missing in action. Who's to blame? Whoever appointed a convicted felon to be the minister responsible for the police. Benjamin Netanyahu, you have shattered this country. People are looking for a fall guy, but it's hard to imagine that any member of Likud could really, frankly, multiple powers. The problem is this is going to fester.
You have the police and the military not getting along on how to respond to uprisings. Like, that's not typically a great sign.
No. This stuff is just simply the natural progression of all of this stuff, completely predictable in one fashion or another.
Except really, I guess, the speed at which it's happening, this level of fracturing. But
I feel like this has been going on. I mean, this trajectory has been happening for decades.
For sure.
South Africa was kind of the same way. In the mid-'80s, people were like, yeah, it's going to be around for decades and decades, and then it
collapsed quickly.
Unspooled.
Yeah. Ilan Pappé writes about that in Sidecar. People should read his piece from last month about how Zionism is seriously under threat as a project right now, which is a good thing, but also a terrifying prospect in its unraveling.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.